Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have Bissett here today. He is an Amo Ni healing guide in charge of exposing the self-awareness necessary to find the healer inside so you can make lasting changes. Today he's going to share a couple of stories, including his experience cycling across the US, ghosts in Natchez, Mississippi, ghost experiences in Taiwan, and I'm going to let him jump in and explain to us what Amo Ni is, because I'm curious about this and I've never heard of it. And anything else you want to add, Bo?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the introduction. I really appreciate it, Tina. Amo Ni is the emotional healing program that I put together. We use muscle testing, meridian or emotional release points, which are found all over the body, and a pranayamic breath called the Amo breath, and neurolinguistic programming. So it's basically like a search and destroy system for finding the programmed emotions that we installed when we were children and ridding our system, our body of those programmed emotions so we can finally live the life that we want to. But most of our lives, many of us are spent fighting those programs that get installed based on traumatic experiences in our childhood. And trauma, most people would view trauma as like a car accident or breaking a bone or something like that. But trauma can occur as like something as small as like your parent yelling at you or your parent not yelling at you, just like looking at you wrong or not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
in an angry manner. And we as children, we embodied that uh, we embodied that energy, those emotions, the words, and the feelings, all of that from our external environment. And we build a picture of how we will experience the world after those events, each one of those events are programmed. So the way that you and I are living now is based on a series of programs that we installed when we were children. And so the way we feel about love, money, uh, food, exercise, butterflies, I mean, you name it, anything is a program. So, and much of my life has been run by programs that I didn't want running and were keeping me from living my true life's potential. See, and most of my life I was frustrated because, and I've realized through the work that I do, that frustration can be your key to happiness, because a lot of the times when you're feeling frustrated, you have a conscious intention, like you want to lose weight or you want to get in shape or you want to start a business or you want to do anything or stop anything. The frustration that we feel is our conscious intention going against our subconscious program. So, and so if we find that frustration, then we know, like, well, I've got something there that needs to be cleared. And that's where the work that I do comes in. Like I
Yeah,
said,
so
we
whatever
use,
you learn that's not serving you, you have to unlearn it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was just
Exactly.
talking to my nieces about that last weekend. If you have anything that you learned or you've been taught, you have to unlearn it.
Hmm.
You have
It's
to,
not just things that we learn too. It's just like, see, it's like so many of the programs that we're running are subconscious, and most of us to this day and age are running around on autopilot. We're not even thinking. We're just going from one place to the next, just kind of almost like zombies. And when we're in that state, the subconscious is running the show. And when the subconscious is running the show, it's one of those programs that you installed, or that the subconscious installed. So letting go of those emotions is the most freeing and liberating thing that has ever happened to me, and was finally giving me the chance to live life without the shame and guilt and anger that I was harboring for decades.
yeah.
And you ask about why I came to Taiwan. That's part of the reason that I ended up here.
So you wanted to get as far away as possible?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I ran away. Like I had a really,
Mm.
I grew up in a great, I had, my mom and dad were great. They got divorced when I was 12. I didn't take that too well. But I was an angry kid, and from a young age, I started that anger really started manifesting, and I broke my ankle several times when I was 15. I ruined my knee. I broke all like ACL, MCL, cartilage in my knee in a soccer accident. Then I started drinking and using drugs when I was in high school, like abusing them pretty hard. I got in trouble in university. I got in 2 different car accidents where I nearly killed myself. I had a near-death experience in the first car accident, and my grandfather came and visited me. My dead grandfather came and visited me and said, "Go back. It's not your time yet." And for about 20 years after that accident, I actually regretted the decision of like listening to him. So me coming to Taiwan, like both of those accidents that I got in were me being drunk. And after school, I got heavy into cocaine. And I was, after all that I'd put my family through, I said, no, I can't do this again. And I packed up. I didn't pack up. I gave everything I owned away. I left my brother with the car keys to my car as I was as I was leaving the country, like going to the airport. I was like, "Here's the car. It's yours. Do whatever you want with it." And I left, and I pretty much ran away. So
So did things get better when you moved away?
no, I just kept drowning myself.
Oh, no.
I just kept drowning myself in alcohol, and I was for most of my life. For me, drinking was just a way to. I just wanted. It made me feel good while I was doing it, but I did it so heavily with the purpose that I just really wanted to go to sleep one night and just not wake up again. And that's how I drank. I drank with that in heaviness and that intention, and I guess there are other plans for me, obviously. So that I never realized that, thankfully.
Was there a history of alcoholism in your family or?
Yeah, my dad's mom and dad were both alcoholics, but I never met them. They both died before I was born.
I think it's so interesting because, you know, I'm very interested in looking at trauma and how it's passed down the family line. And oftentimes the descendants have inherited these feelings or problems like addiction, and it doesn't make sense that they have those problems. It's not, they could have a really nice childhood, really good parents, but whatever doesn't get healed in the family line gets passed down.
Oh, totally agree. Completely.
And it's not like, oh, say you have 5 grandchildren, it's not like all 5 will get it. It might be the one,
Hmm.
that one grandchild that for some reason took on the problems, and they're there to heal it, I guess. I mean,
Exactly.
nothing happens randomly, right?
Hmm.
Um, so
I do.
go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, I do realize now, like, after everything that I've been through, like, I was this, I am, my strength and all the things that I've been through is like, and I guess my resilience I was the one that was able to take that on and, and end up turning it into something good eventually.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing. I love people like this. Give yourself credit for having the strength to change.
yeah. I mean, I think we all need to. I mean, that's the thing with what I'm doing now is like, you know, when you introduced me as a healing guide, right? Like I've been down this road. Like I've
Hmm.
healed myself from the traumatic experiences that I embodied, and then also, like you mentioned, that I inherited from from all of my lineage, right? Not just
Hmm.
in my dad's parents, but my mom's parents as well. And so, you know, I've I help people, I show people the way. Like I'm not a healer, right? I don't believe in healers. Um, I believe that there are certain people that, they have gifts and things that that use to help other people, but like you are the healer. I'm the healer. Each of
Hmm.
us, each of us is a healer. And unfortunately, over the last, I guess, century, the marketing that's been done in I guess, the medical field, or I guess more along the pharmaceutical field, has marketed the pharmaceutical industry as it's done a very good job of marketing it. And first of all, like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for modern medicine and the pharmaceutical industry. Like I nearly killed myself twice in two different accidents, and then had two other life-threatening instances where modern medicine helped me, right? But the thing is, like, we've been conditioned to believe that we don't have the power to heal, that we have to go to a doctor who then gives us a permission slip to go to another individual who gives us a pill or a concoction or a liquid or a shot. And that is the power for us to heal. And that is where I believe the system, or, like the marketing that I talked about, has failed humankind, because we are much more powerful than than people believe we are.
Yes, totally. I mean, we can't say that enough nowadays.
Mhm. Like you and I are, all of us, we all have the power to heal. We all have the power to be incredible beings and just expand ourselves to limitless potential. And, uh, you know, you look at like some of the outliers, like, I don't know, Michael Jordan and Elon Musk and Gandhi and, all these people, like, we all have that potential in us as well, right? And, these people, they, they were they took what they had and they ran with it, and like we all have the potential to take what's in us and run with it and just be just as amazing.
Yeah, and you don't have to become famous or rich to
No,
impact a lot of people.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be a janitor at school and, like, do the best, be the best janitor, and, like, have people sing praises about you, and, you know it's, yeah. So,
So you cycled across the US. Did you want to talk about that?
oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, well, when I came back to the U.S. after I was in Vietnam at the time, and I hit a huge low, and this is right before I started my healing journey. I called my brother, and I was like, man, I'm just at bottom. I've hit rock bottom. He said, well, come back, we'll get you on your feet. And I did, and when I got back, I was like, how, I don't want to be in America. Um, I enjoy being overseas. So how can I get back on my feet? What can I do? I love traveling. I'm a good writer. So, okay, I'll just get a bike and ride across the country and write about it. So I started a blog,
Hmm.
and I started in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, with the intention of trading write-ups on my blog website uh, for restaurants and bed and breakfast to help me like get across the country. And in doing so, my plan was that, by the end of, the voyage, or somewhere along the way, like I'd pick up some sponsors, and and that would be my thing, right? I would just be writing and traveling and just write myself, or ride myself right into a job for my own business. Um, it didn't end up working that way, but I had some incredible experiences along the way. The one that I mentioned to you earlier, when I left Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, I had a hammock with me, and that's how I slept. If I didn't have a bed and breakfast lined up to stay in the night, I had very little money at that time, and so yeah, I was basically sleeping outside in the woods, in churches, graveyards. Churches and graveyards, I kind of favored because I thought like at night people would be too freaked out to go in
To
those
bother you
areas.
there.
Yeah, right. So I was like, wow, that's the safest bet for me, to me to stay. Like nobody's gonna bother me there. I only had one instance, and at this point, I can't even remember where it was. It's somewhere in the middle of the country, but I did have a policeman come in and into the graveyard one night and check, stop, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Blah blah blah. And I talked to him. He's like, "Oh, that's pretty smart, actually." So he told me, but he did tell me, he's like, be careful. There's some kids that come out here sometimes. They're just goofing around. So, um, but anyway, so uh, when I was cycling across the country, I was so grounded. I was so in touch with nature. Like I was sleeping outside all the time. I was bathing outside. I was eating outside. Like I was just totally immersed in nature and just the sights and sounds and smells of everything natural. And it's just such a beautiful experience. And I got to the point where I could actually feel the vibe of a place as I was going into it.
Mhm.
One, two big places that stand out before I'm going to tell you about the Natchez story was Western North Carolina, the Indian or Native American reservations there.
Mhm.
It was such a just very down, heavy, sad vibe to it, like a beaten down. Uh, it almost made me want to cry. And then the other was it's about 10 miles outside of New Orleans. And that was a very, oh, it was a very unsettling vibe. It was like anger and this I think this was not it wasn't too long after what was that big hurricane down there? Was it Floyd? Was that it?
Mm, Katrina.
Oh, that's it, right? Yeah, Katrina, right? So, oh man, it was just scary, scary vibe. And
Was it coming from the people or the land or both?
I think it was from both actually.
Okay.
So, yeah. Then so I got into New Orleans, and a lot of people go to New Orleans and they have, they fly in and they do the whole party thing. And like I got there and then I get there like late in the afternoon and I like got out of there the very next morning. Did not like it at all. It was very unsettling.
Wow. I love New Orleans. And I don't go there to party. I mean,
Right, right,
I barely drink.
right.
It's I feel like feminine energy, divine feminine energy in the city.
Ah,
So it resonates with me. And then again, we talked before we started recording that I like any kind of history,
mm-hmm,
any kind of historical city or town. I just
mm-hmm.
love it. I love New Orleans and amazing food too.
Yeah. I didn't get to enjoy any of that. Like I said, it
Oh,
was just it was very heavy. It's very unsettling for me. So
are
I
you
guess
when
like
in North Carolina, did you grow up in like a small town, like in a
yeah,
country? Yeah.
yeah, sure did. So
Yeah. See, I grew up in New York City, so that's a very intense place. So um I'm more familiar. I could go anywhere. Seriously. I could go anywhere. That's the great thing about growing up in New York is you're not afraid of anything.
true.
You know, people like, oh, don't go in that neighborhood because it's bad. I'm like, so I grew up like in a not great neighborhood.
Right.
You know, I know how to handle myself. So Natchez, where is that? In Mississippi, right?
Natchez, yeah, Natchez, Mississippi. It's the beginning of the Natchez Trace, which is a government, what do you call it? Like national park. It's basically a road that runs from Natchez, Mississippi, and I think it runs all the way up to Tennessee. And there's nothing on the road. It used to be, if I'm not mistaken, used to be like the Native American trail, like them following game like north and south. And it is just beautiful. It's unspoiled. There are streetlights on the road, but there's no gas stations, there's no houses, there's no nothing. It's just a road with. So I get on there at this point in the trip. I think when I'd gotten down to when I left Louisiana, as I was leaving Louisiana, the daytime temperatures were like 117. It was
God.
ridiculous. Like
And
this
humid.
exactly. And the summer I went through, it was like there was no rain though. And so it was just like scorching hot. So I had to switch to riding at night. And I got on in Natchez, Mississippi. I got on the beginning of the Natchez Trace at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night. And I was just riding all night. And one of the first stops is there was a little kind of a, not a rest area, but a little parking lot, and then like a historic marker, and it shows like there was an old school that used to be back there. So I got off my bicycle and parked my bicycle, then walked down this little trail. I had a flashlight with me, and so I walked down the trail and got to the end of the trail, and there was like a wooden picket fence, and in the distance there was a building, like an old just structure. It wasn't a building. And like I said, by this point, I had already been sleeping in graveyards and churches, and then I had no fear. There was nothing bothered me.
Mhm.
But I was standing there, and as I was standing there, my skin just started rippling, like how you get, how you get goosebumps, and it
Yeah.
ran up both my arms, and then up my neck and into my head. And I was like, and I started breathing really heavy. I was like, what is going on? I was like, dude, calm down. And then I was like, no, this is not right. And so I just turned and I just ran full speed, got on my bike, and I didn't stop for like 30 minutes. And so after that, I wrote about the experience on my blog. And one of the people who was following me did some research and found out that like a group of, I don't know, national paranormal experts went to that spot and found out that there was an actual entity at that spot that they measured with all their fancy equipment and stuff. So that kind of that blew me away. I was like, wow, I actually had a paranormal experience.
Have you ever felt like full body chills, like going up your legs, down your arms?
That's
You ever
that's
felt
what this
that?
is.
Yeah,
That's what this is. The whole, like my whole
the
body. It's
whole
amazing.
body. So not just your neck, not just your arms, but your whole body. I've
Yeah,
felt
this is the
that.
whole thing.
I've felt that, but in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Not in a negative way.
Hmm.
Like I've felt that in a session, energy healing session with who's now a friend. She's a friend of mine, and we literally lifted like a blanket of energy off her body.
Wow.
And then she actually grabbed my arm and she was like, what's happening? And I was like, whatever's happening, it's really good. And I
Yeah.
was getting these I'm already like getting kind of chills
Uh,
talking about it again. But I was getting these full body chills and I was just like, just hang in there, just hang in there. Like something's leaving,
yeah, yeah.
that you no longer need.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. But
It was
I don't think I could sleep in graveyards. I just
it was well, when you mentioned that, like, I don't think it was, I don't consider it negative. It was just,
energy.
it was just a feeling, right? But I was
Right.
alone, and yeah, it was at night, and I think if I'd have had somebody there to experience it with me, like, it would have been different. But like
Yeah.
alone, just and then just out in the middle of nowhere, it was just, yeah, I didn't know how to handle it. So, and which is kind of funny because when I told you about leaving, running when I was and leaving the States and moving, moving overseas, like that was my response most of my life, running from things. So
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
that was my first response, was like run. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, smart, You may
Yeah,
have gotten a warning, get out, and you listened.
yeah,
And the problem is the people who don't listen.
that's right.
Oh no, we're fine. Just keep going, and then it
Yeah,
gets worse. So definitely trust your feelings all the time.
exactly.
What kind of entity is there? Do you know?
I think it was like a little girl who was, I'm not sure if she was murdered or not. That was like 10 years ago, so I don't remember. I'm sure you can look it up and find, yeah, to find something about it.
Oh, well, if
But
it's a girl
I think it was a little girl.
and the whole hierarchy of spirits you could bump into, not too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then you live in Taiwan now, right?
Yeah, I live in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, the south of Taiwan.
Well, let's go back to the cycling. What
Hmm.
is that the oddest, scariest thing that happened to you? Do you have an experience that you were just like, what the hell? I don't understand this at all. I don't know what I'm seeing or feeling or
Yeah, we had another instance when, like, after my wife and I went through this clearing work that is now Amo Ni, we we had at one point we had two different places. We had a place in the city so she could get her kids closer uh, to school, and then we have a little place there on the mountain that overlooks the ocean. And so we were going back there one night for something with, I don't know, she needed to pick something up, or I can't remember what it was, but we went back and we walked into the place, and the there was a light that was flashing, like doors were flapping in open in the house. We walked in, and as soon as we did, and this time, like, that that those goosebumps was full body, and it was not pleasant.
hmm
It was very, very creepy. And we have a friend of ours who's a Buddhist monk that we called in, and she came in and did some special ceremonies. And apparently she was talking about how there was a spirit there that was looking for help to move on.
hmm
But that was the weirdest thing that I've ever had happen. It was almost like, with the experience in Natchez, it was very surreal. With this, it was almost like, those movies, like poltergeist movies, like freaky and angry, and it was not, it was very unsettling.
So there were like doors opening and closing and all sorts of
Yeah,
activity.
lights going on and off. Yeah, yeah.
See, I've never experienced that. And I've experienced a lot of different paranormal activity. I've heard about it though. I've had
It
people
was,
experience. I had a friend from high school who would come home and I stayed in this house.
oh,
But she said she would come home and all the kitchen cabinet drawers and doors would be open. Very like, didn't that happen in the movie Poltergeist?
Yeah, I think so.
And then the chairs were, in Poltergeist, the chairs were all on the table, balanced in like a weird way, but she said
Mhm.
that would happen, and but I didn't feel anything bad in there. But that was before I started my, communication skills with spirit. But I would definitely feel them around.
Wow.
I would just say, don't show yourself because I don't want to see you, because I don't want to get freaked out, but I know you're here.
Right.
I would validate it. I'd be like, I know you're here, but don't show yourself.
Wow. I think that's what my wife, she did something similar. Like when we got in there, I walked in there and like it hit me first. I was like, whoa, there's something here. This is not good. And she was like, just calm down, just it is what it is. They're just, they're entities here. But so she had a very collected approach like you did,
Yeah.
or like you mentioned. So how did you like open up? Like what
Um, and around 2011, I started really just reading a lot about past lives, and I tried hypnotherapy. I tried a psychic reading. I was able to communicate with my father, who passed away 31 years ago for the first
Whoa.
time. And that was huge for me. And so I just
How did
started.
that communication, how did that happen?
Well, the funny thing is because the psychic I was working with, he said, I don't like to pass messages from past loved ones. That's not what I'm doing here in this reading. And I was like, okay, I'll respect that.
Right.
And so he's telling me about myself, telling me about my energies, and he's like, well, there's a man in the room. And I was like, okay. And he's like, he's got dark hair and he has a name that starts with a G. And I'm like, that's my father because his name is Gerald. And then I looked at him and I was like, please, can you just pass on what he's saying? I know you said you don't like to do that. And he agreed. And so I had this whole conversation with my dad through him.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that was really, really good for me. It was very healing. And this guy was like, he was completely accurate about everything, 100%,
Wow.
everything he said. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is mind blowing. So I did that. And then I was living in Northern Virginia at the time, and I took a tarot class. And I loved it. And I've been using tarot ever since. That was 2014. And then my tarot teacher was also a Reiki master teacher.
Hmm.
So I really liked her and her energy and her teaching style. So I took everything that she taught.
Wow.
And I ended up I blogged about this because I have my own blog too. But I had a dream about Patrick Swayze, and we were walking along Hollywood some together talking, and he was unhappy about something. So I was like advising him in the dream. And it felt really real. And I've always been like a really vivid dreamer.
Yeah.
And so I told my teacher, I said, what what do dreams mean? Because I had a really vivid dream about a celebrity. I mean, I don't even know this guy.
Right.
And she's like, well, tell me about it. And I told her, and she gave me this side eye. And she's like, I think that you had really a real interaction with him in the dream state. And then she said, do you dream about like people who passed and animals that passed? And I was like, oh yeah, all the time. Doesn't anybody? Doesn't it? She's like looking at me like, no, not everybody does this. Like, not
Right.
everybody is dreaming about people. If somebody dies around me, I'm usually the one that dreams about them.
So when you dreamt about Patrick Swayze, this was after he passed away. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting.
So she said, well, did you know that if you have these type of dreams that you're a medium? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And she said, the reason why they're communicating with you is because you can communicate with them. you're remembering this communication on the dream state. So I started working with her to strengthen my skills and practice. And I realized that not only could I feel them, which I always did my entire life, I could see them and I could hear them.
Oh,
And I never ever tried to talk to any of them. It's like it never
right.
occurred to me. But when I asked them questions, they answered back. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when my fear went away. I was like, this is just like a person that used to be alive. Why am I scared? Because
Right.
now we can communicate and I can help them or I can deliver a message. So the fear went away when it came to it.
Wow. That's cool. I'd like to put my wife in touch with you. She's a lot of the stuff that you talk about, she experiences as well. So
Yeah. So you're in Taiwan now. Let's talk about some of your experiences there.
okay. Yeah, I left the States when I was about 27, and yeah, I traveled, started in Europe, and then I ended up in Taiwan, and then I left Taiwan, and then so from there I went to Mexico, I was in Spain, I was in Vietnam, came back to Taiwan maybe 3 or 4 times. And funny enough, my wife found something online a few weeks ago about there was a Scandinavian scientist that came here, I think in the early 2000s, and he did some tests. And apparently, and there's only a few articles. I don't know why this wasn't made any more public or why it wasn't pushed any more than it was, but he said that he found that Taiwan had a stronger energy than like the energy coming out of Sedona in the States. And I've always, a lot of the people that come to Taiwan, a lot of the foreigners that come to Taiwan, there's always quite a few that have the same experience that I have had. It's like, I left and then came back. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those, and it keeps pulling me back.
Mhm.
And I've tried, like I said, I think I've been back, I've left 3 times and now here I am. So it's a beautiful, beautiful island. Most of the people are settled on the West Coast because there's a huge central mountain that runs right down the middle of the country, and which saves the West Coast from the typhoons, which are basically like Asian hurricanes that come in the summer.
Yeah.
So the East Coast is sparsely developed, but from outside of the cities on the West Coast, all the way to the East Coast, it's beautiful. The parts that you could go through and you think you're in like a Jurassic Park movie. It's just absolutely,
So it's like a tropical environment.
yeah, subtropical.
How big
So
is the island?
it's very, very small. As far as how big it is, I think it's like maybe a third the size of North Carolina, maybe smaller. That's not big. I mean, I think I could
Well,
cycle it
North
around here.
Carolina's huge.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be like a third, maybe like a third of the size,
Yeah.
maybe even smaller. So it's not big at all.
So what do you think is going on there energetically? Why is the energy so strong there?
It's interesting because, you look at what's happened, you know, Taiwan is a very small country off the coast of China. And for the last 100 years, they've kept China from invading, right? And then you look at like the recent COVID outbreak, like Taiwan was the lone stronghold of like no COVID penetration into the country. Like there was, I think at the highest we had like a couple hundred cases a day. Now, like the vaccines came in and they're completely they've gotten lax about the standards that they had set at the height of the pandemic,
Mhm.
because the virus is now weakened. So it's basically, nothing more than like a lot of people are just asymptomatic. But it's, those things, and then it's just make it it's a special little place.
Yeah, I feel that
The
because
people,
I
are so sweet, they're really
yeah,
nice, very, very helpful and helping. I've never had there's very little, you don't, like in America, like, you get cops running all over the place and, they're trying to chase down the bad guy. Like, cops, they don't do that here. There's no, if you do see them, they're out helping somebody. They're, out, doing paperwork for like a bumper to bumper accident. You don't see any, you know, big robberies or big, it's just, like a Goldilocks little island.
yeah,
It's
it sounds
beautiful.
nice.
It is. It's very nice.
Have you been to Sedona?
No, I haven't.
I have. It's
What was
pretty
that like?
magical. I'm not a desert person. Like,
Hmm.
I admire the desert and the beauty of it. I'm really need to be around water,
I'm the same way.
especially the ocean.
Mhm.
But it's pretty magical. Like at night, even though it's a small town or city, you can see billions of stars right in the center of town.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's amazing. So definitely, and a lot of spiritual people are drawn there
Hmm.
because of the energies. I get drawn out to Montana. I've been there like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, wow. I would love to go out there.
Yeah, it's always kind of shocking because I don't know anybody out there. I don't have any family, but on a spiritual level, the land, I feel completely comfortable there. Like I could go in the forest, not see anybody all day, feel completely safe. I don't feel like that in other forests,
Right,
in the US.
right.
The people are okay. I don't think they're as accepting as me as the land is.
Hmm.
But like where I live now in Charleston, I feel welcomed and accepted by the land and the people.
Nice. That's a good
Yeah, and
balance.
that's the home where you make your home,
Exactly.
right?
I agree.
So tell people where they can find you, how they can work with you online, and
Yeah, the best way to reach me is on the website. I've got social media, stuff just like everybody else. But yeah, the website is the hub of my operations. It's amoniclear.com. So it's AMONICLEAR.com. And
guys,
yeah,
well,
reach out. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so
well,
much, Tina. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you both for being on the show.
Thanks for sharing your platform with me and helping me spread my message.